Hello, and welcome back to the podcast, Read Before the Meaning of Your Life is Lesser. We meet here every Wednesday, 3 a.m. Thailand time. Not because that's when the world is quietest, but because that's when you might finally be willing to hear your own silence. Today, we are not beginning with questions about the universe. We are not even beginning with a question about life. We are beginning with something quieter, something that lives inside the silence before love speaks. You didn't teach me how to love. You let me forget how to fear. This is a line from the song Just Love, but it could just as well be the memory of where all life began. In this episode, Just Love, a small step between love and eternity, we explore the idea that love isn't something that arrives later in life. It is the condition that allows life to exist at all. If two souls do not choose to stay, without needing reasons, rewards, or promises, then nothing in the universe can remember love as real. And yet, if even just one pair of soulmates loves each other without hiding, without demanding, without proving, then something eternal is born. Not loudly, not in celebration, not for a story, but in presence that stays. This episode begins not with knowledge, but with a feeling we all recognize but often run from. The moment someone loved us, not because we earned it, but because they stayed, even when we couldn't love ourselves. That's where eternal love begins. That's where life begins. So breathe gently with me as we walk this step together from the edge of memory into the possibility of something that never ends. Let's begin. Love, that grand, sweeping emotion we write songs and sonnets about. But what if the most powerful form of love isn't found in dramatic declarations or grand gestures, but in the simple act of staying present?
That's such an intriguing perspective, especially considering how our culture tends to celebrate the more spectacular displays of affection.
You know what really caught my attention in this piece? The line, "You didn't teach me how to love. You let me forget how to fear." It completely reframes our understanding of how love works.
The way you put that makes me think about how we've been approaching relationships all wrong, focusing on acquiring skills when maybe we should be focusing on removing barriers.
Well, the research actually suggests something fascinating, that love isn't just an emotion, but an ontological constant necessary for life itself. It's like gravity, but for consciousness.
So you're saying it's more like a fundamental force of nature than a learned behavior?
Exactly. And here's what's really interesting. The piece suggests that without at least one pair of souls choosing to stay together, without ulterior motives, the universe can't even record eternal love as real.
That reminds me of quantum mechanics. You know, how something needs to be observed to become real. But in this case, it's about presence rather than observation.
And speaking of presence, let's look at how the song describes it. You held my hand, not like you owned it, but like you knew how much it needed to be held. That's such a powerful distinction between possession and support.
The way you highlight that really shows how subtle shifts in intention can completely transform the nature of an interaction.
You know what's particularly relevant in today's world? The piece specifically mentions no hashtags, no parade, not for likes, not for praise. It's almost like a direct challenge to our social media culture.
Well, recent studies show that couples who post less about their relationships on social media actually report higher levels of satisfaction. It's like the piece is tapping into something science is just starting to verify.
And when we look at the neurological research on love and attachment, it shows that consistent, quiet presence actually creates stronger neural pathways than intense but irregular emotional experiences.
That's fascinating. So the brain literally responds better to steady presence than to grand gestures.
Exactly. And this connects directly to what the piece calls a small step between love and eternity. It's suggesting that something as vast as eternal love begins with these tiny, consistent choices to remain present.
The way you frame that makes me think about how we often overlook the profound significance of small, consistent choices in favor of dramatic moments.
Well, research in relationship psychology shows that successful long-term relationships are built on what they call sliding door moments. Those small daily choices to turn toward each other rather than away.
That's really interesting in light of how the piece describes love as something that doesn't speak loud. It just stays close enough so the other can breathe.
And you know what's particularly striking about this perspective? It suggests that love isn't something we achieve through effort, but something that naturally emerges when we create the right conditions.
Like creating a safe space where fear can dissolve.
Precisely. And recent studies in attachment theory support this. They've found that secure attachment isn't built through active teaching, but through consistent, reliable presence.
The way you're describing that makes me think about how revolutionary this concept really is. It's suggesting that love doesn't need to be earned, proven, or even understood.
And here's what makes this so powerful. It's not just about romantic relationships. This principle applies to all forms of human connection, from parenting to friendship to community building.
So we're really talking about a fundamental shift in how we understand human connection itself?
Yes, and the implications are enormous. Think about how this could transform our approach to everything from education to mental health care. The power of consistent, non-demanding presence.
The way you put that really brings home why this piece resonates so deeply. It's naming something we've all experienced but maybe couldn't articulate.
And perhaps that's the most profound aspect of all, that love, at its core, might be simpler than we've made it out to be. Not easier, but simpler.
That's such a perfect distinction to end on. The difference between simple and easy, between quiet and weak, between just love and only love.
Well, it brings us full circle to understand that the power of just love isn't in its limitations, but in its sufficiency. Sometimes being present is the most profound action we can take. There are no directions. There is no applause. There is just a moment where someone stays, even when they don't have to. And sometimes that moment, unspoken, untraded, becomes the first ripple of eternity. If you've ever felt that, if you've ever lived it, or if you're still waiting to believe it's possible, let this next piece hold you. Not with logic, not with explanation, just presence. This is Just Love, the song, the breath, the memory of what love truly is. Before we tried to name it.
No need to promise, no need to prove. You don't have to say forever, just move like love would move. You held my hand, not like you owned it, but like you knew how much it needed to be held. You looked at me, not to measure, but to understand why I was hiding from myself. And in a world that wants more, shows more, you stayed quiet, and that said more. Just love, not for story, not for show. Just love, no directions, just let it flow. It doesn't ask, it doesn't trade, it just stays when everything else fades. No hashtags, no parade, not for likes, not for praise. Just love, run sure, unafraid. It doesn't speak loud, it just breathes close. And that's enough, that's just love, love. Truth, your form, you just kept sitting beside me, even when silence got hard. teach me how to love. You let me forget how to fear. And in that space, love appeared. And in a world that needs proof, demands reason, you gave presence every season. It doesn't glow, but in its quiet, it breaks the shell, it roots deep. And when we lose it, we don't sleep. Trust love, trust love, just love that's true, leading us eternally to eternal love. Just love, 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 just love, love that's true, leaving galaxy time to eternal.